All right, welcome in the Pharmacist and the Photog, Games, Grooves, and Grub. I am the Pharmacist, Dion Spencer, alongside the Photog, Steve Moss. And in keeping with, I guess, a little bit of tradition that we have established here, I'm going to start with the good. I feel like, last week we started the show with the news that Mark Stoops had been relieved of his duties at the University of Kentucky, and it looked like, for all intents and purposes, they were going to move forward with Will Stein. Over the last week, that became official, so we now have a new football coach after 13 years at the University of Kentucky.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that Mitch Barnhart actually pulled the trigger. I think we discussed last time that he's a little slow in that area, and he doesn't like to upset the apple cart. But, after the way Kentucky finished the season with those two losses to Vandy and Louisville, I don't think he could run that back out there with UK fans. Season tickets would probably be at a very low level, people renewing their tickets, and you can't do that. So Will Stein is a guy, everything that I've read and now what I've heard, he's growing on me.
Yeah.
He's growing on me. He's young. I think he's 36.
Looks 26.
I was going to say, in our business – the youth, you can't look too youthful because then there's a credibility factor.
Right.
And just eyeballing him and watching him, he looks very young. Of course, he's not very tall, so that probably adds to it. But then once I heard him speak and heard the press conference, I'm more inclined to be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. So before we dive a little bit deeper into the hire itself, I thought a lot about this week in that, were you surprised at all in how quickly, because we heard last Sunday morning that Stoops was gone, and by Sunday evening we were pretty much getting the information that it was going to be Will Stein. That's how quickly it happened. Sunday, Monday, I might have my days a little bit off, but in less than 24 hours, we went from firing our coach to pretty much signing the new coach. So I guess my thought process was, I know he didn't have it like posted in his office with a whiteboard or something, but did Mitch have, tucked away in the top drawer of his desk, this is my dude that I'm going after? Or, how did that happen so quickly?
I don't know with 100% certainty how and why it happened as quickly as it did. Mitch has always told us, and Mitch has been here how long now? Is he approaching 20 years?
20 years, I think, yeah.
Mitch has always told us he has a short list.
Yeah.
Because, in his words, you just never know when something might happen. What I've also heard since the press conference is that, and this comes from a former player who's a reliable person, that back in either August or September, Stein's people contacted UK and said, if you all happen to make a coaching change, my client would be very interested in coming home.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
Now, that's coming from a former player. And going back to, will Mitch make the move? Will Mitch keep Stoops? To me, first of all, if they don't get beat as badly as they do at Louisville, Mark Stoops is still the coach.
Right, we're not having this conversation. Exactly.
Yeah, and with that in mind, and with possibly Will Stein already being on that short list, I think it made it an easier call. Granted, you've still got $37.7 million you got to worry about.
Yeah.
The only sticking point to this whole process, will Mark Stoops take that buyout over a number of years as opposed to 60 days?
Right.
He agreed to that. That just greases the skids now to go ahead and make the move. I was a little surprised, again, that Mitch pulled the trigger, A, but B, it ended as quickly as it did. But also the portal opens here in a couple of weeks, and you've got guys who are still in the postseason, the playoffs or the conference championships, coaches and players who you want to try to get on board as quickly as you can. So I think it was all like the perfect storm, to be honest. If in fact Will Stein reached out to Kentucky, that just made it that much easier.
Yeah, I think
I'll give you another example. After the press conference, I talked to Jacob Tammy and Scott Bowley, Cutter's dad, privately, no camera involved. And specifically with the Bowleys, I asked Scott, I go, you guys happy with it? He goes, it could not have happened any better than it did.
Awesome.
He said after the Vandy game, first of all, he was rather stunned at how beaten up Cutter got in that game. And he said, I've seen my son with bruises on his bodies, but I've never seen him beat up so badly that it worried me as a father. But then he was like, Cutter, if you guys happen to lose at Louisville, there's a good chance you're going to have a new coach next year. And he said, Cutter said, I hope that they go after Will Stein.
Wow.
And he fell in his lap.
Yeah.
So, again, I think this hire was much like the Tim Couch deal. They had to go for an offensive guy. As a matter of fact, we have some sound from Mitch Barnhart, who addressed the media after the press conference.
Last time around, we had a really difficult time stopping people. The last time this job was open. And so our focus was more defensive minded. Our focus this time was a little bit different. I was very specifically trying to find ways to put points on the board. I don't think that in today's world it's really hard to win games in our league scoring 17, 21 points a game. We've got to find a way to be where we're lighting up the scoreboard as Will talked about.
Yeah, I mean, listening to that, that backs that up when you think about the fact that, obviously with Stoops, we had the defensive guy, and maybe at this point we feel like the defense is in pretty good hands. I mean, it came out this week that Stein was going to retain Anwar Stewart, the defensive line coach, who's been there since 2020. So that's nice to have that continuity. Also, we heard this week that Mike Hartline is going to stay on with the offense, which that might have also played a part in keeping Cutter Bowley happy, which is good. Tight end coach Derek Shea is going to remain. Mm-hmm. So we're
and
waiting.
Damian Washington, who he's the wide receivers coach. Yeah. Who probably doesn't get enough credit for how that group grew towards the end of the season, and Kentucky was able to find a couple of guys out there on the field who make catches where
it was a little ugly early in the season.
It was.
It just didn't look like it didn't matter where Cutter was putting the ball. Guys weren't catching it, and that changed at least somewhat over the course of the season.
It did, and it also helped Cutter grow because we talked about it here a lot. Every week you would see growth from the quarterback position. So, and then also Washington is responsible for almost single-handedly putting together a 14 or 15 guy class. That's the other thing. Signing day was last week. And Washington has put together a decent class. Granted, it's not very big because of the coaching change and all that. So they'll have to hit the portal pretty hard. But he's got five wide receivers in this class.
Yeah, it's a very young room, but
moving forward, people there. You've got a young quarterback too. Yeah. But the big fish in that catch was Kenny Darby, the 4-star wide receiver, who decommitted from LSU.
Yeah.
And people started talking about he's going to flip to Kentucky. And we were all like looking every 5 minutes to see if it had happened. Yeah. And then it did. And you're like, oh my gosh, they're actually able to go out and start getting some guys, cherry picking guys who are going to come in and play right away.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing to have a kid who, committed to LSU, has Lane Kiffin coming in, who, runs a pretty impressive offense himself, to have that kid flip. And I saw a brief quote from him and basically saying this is an opportunity to lead the way to something big happening at Kentucky. So it's kind of exciting to hear a kid say that, especially a Louisiana native,
right?
To back out of his commitment to LSU to come to Kentucky. So I think he's obviously excited about the kind of offenses that Will Stein has put together at Oregon, and throughout his career. So, it's, I'm going to try to restrain myself and not be too excited about it, but and the fact that we had gotten the commitment from the quarterback Matt Ponatoski still remains to be seen. I think that kid's going to get drafted in the Major League Baseball, and he may never suit up to play football. But the fact that he didn't waver one bit and came out and in support of this hire, I thought that was important. They got a JUCO offensive line transfer, Jordan Knox. He's a former 4-star, 325-pound guard. He says he's coming. So that's, you have guys who have been successful at other schools like Will Stein. Talent is going to follow if they feel like they've got the opportunity to, put themselves on display in the SEC. That's pretty important,
Well, let's hear from Will Stein from the press conference. He talks about recruiting and coaches have to be adaptable.
Yep.
Recruiting is still old school. It really is. I know y'all might be like, there's no way. There's NIL. What is NIL? What is this stuff? There's a cap now. What's a cap? Like, that is part of it, and that's why we're going to have the best general manager in the country being here with me. I know I can't report on that just yet, but you guys, I'm sure that will come out very soon. But yeah, there is a financial piece to it now. And to me, the best trait of a college football coach now is adaptability. We got to adapt. If y'all are still saying, I wish it was like it ain't the olden days. It's not. So just get that out of your mind. Like, let's push forward. Let's move forward in this process. And how do you do that? It takes everybody in this room. Everybody, young, old, everybody in this room. So, but yeah, evaluation, recruiting, in-person evaluation, out-of-person evaluation, getting them in the campus as many times as possible during the recruitment periods, and then just closing the deal. You got to close, and how do you do that? It's, like I mentioned, it's building the relationships, not always being the highest bidder, but this is the best place that people can come play football, and they got to believe that in their hearts.
Cool. I like that. You've got guys who – well, I'll bring up the fact that this week we had a former recruiter guru at UK came out and he
basically challenged
He didn't name anybody, but he basically said Kentucky and Ohio is my turf. And my thought process on that was, if you feel like I think in some way he said something about having those areas locked down.
Right.
And my response to that was, if you really feel like you've got those areas locked down, you don't necessarily need to go out on social media and proclaim that.
Right.
That, to me, that
Getting a little chesty.
That speaks a little bit of some insecurity. And then the fact that, I texted you after we got the commitment from Kenny Darby out of LSU. I said, maybe Stein says, I don't need to fool with Kentucky and Ohio because I'm going to recruit
on
Louisiana and Texas and Florida. So, yeah, that might be, it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens with especially local talent. I mean, obviously I don't expect us to get the kind of talent out of Ohio that we would have had we signed Brian Hartline to be our coach. But who knows?
And one other thing on Hartline, since you brought him up, I did find out from a couple of people that I spoke to at the press conference, he's a little more difficult to deal with, and I think, given everything else being equal, because we've talked about the pros of hiring a guy like Hartline, including recruiting the Midwest and Ohio, because he's, if you watched Ohio State and Indiana last night, you saw the receivers that this guy brings into Ohio State. Yeah. I mean, they're obviously top shelf NFL guys, but my understanding is that Hartline is a little difficult to work with, and all things being equal, I think Mitch went with the easier solution.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the other clip that we've got, I think it's different than the one we just did, was talking about how he does not expect this to be a real rebuilding process. He's wanting this to happen quickly at Kentucky. And he expects to be able to put things in place, put the right athletes in place. So, we'll listen to that clip. It's got some good stuff in it. We'll talk about that.
The vision's really simple. It's to win. It's to win. I didn't come here to be average. I didn't come here to be mediocre. I came here to win and to win championships. I've won at every single level that I've been at, high school, college, and now the goal is to win here and not win 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, to do it now. And the way that you do that is you work. You work, right? Success is not free. Rent is due every damn day that we're here. And we're gonna work to get that done, to make Big Blue Nation proud and make our players proud and do it the right way. And how do you do it? I said work, but number one, we gotta recruit. Every day, we wake these kids up in the morning, we put them to bed at night. It's like shaving. If you don't do it every day, you start to look like crap. So we have to recruit, we have to sign great players. Not okay players, we gotta sign great players. That's how you win. It's a player's game. It always has been, it always will be. I look like a much better coach when I'm coaching great players. So I need everybody's support in this building to get that done.
Yeah, so question
I like the
remains,
part about shaving.
Yeah, that's good.
It's like shaving. If you don't do it, it starts to look like crap.
Starts to look like
Guys
crap.
can relate to that.
Yeah, I mean, and the question will be, and we've talked about the fact that I thought Cutter looked tough this season at times. He took a beating, so I think he's the MFer that he's looking for.
Well, yeah, that's a quote coming from Will. He was asked about quarterback play, and he basically said, he didn't say the word, but he said, I want my quarterback to be the toughest MFer on the field.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And all I could think was to look at Mitch and see what his reaction was. And he was kind of wide-eyed like, okay.
Yeah, that's what we want. I mean, I want that little bit of fire. I think we just need, and you can analyze this all different ways. I mean, is Will Stein going to attempt to use Kentucky as a stepping stone to a different program down the road? I mean, it could be, but also, I mean, could he pull a Signetti and actually turn this around? I'm not saying we're going to be national championship contenders in 2 years, but if he puts together a really solid squad and nice staff
and coaches them
have
up,
some success,
yeah,
Kentucky, I think at that point they would find the money to keep him happy and keep him here. Hopefully, not sign him to something that requires a $40 million buyout in 60 days, but.
I talked to Jacob Tammy, and Jacob was not in the interview process, but he was kind of a sounding board, and he said, give him a chance. Because I expressed to Jacob, I'm like, the guy looks so young. Mm-hmm. I know he's 36, and I know he's been an offensive coordinator at Oregon, and I think, what are they, ranked 4th or 5th now in the country? They're in the playoffs. Yep. And Jacob was like, give him a chance. And Jacob posed a question to me. He goes, Dan Lanning, who's the head coach at Oregon, was he a previous head coach somewhere? Right. No. He goes, what about Kirby Smart? Was he a previous head coach somewhere? And I said, I don't think so. He goes, that's my point. Yeah. Give Will a chance. So, I told Jacob, I trust you on this. And so just hearing Jacob Tammy say that gives me a little more confidence that this may actually work. The thing I was going to bring up was the press conference and the introduction. It was all celebratory. There were fireworks and all that stuff. But just hearing Will speak, he had command. Mm-hmm. Even in front of a big audience, he had the command. He was very confident and very calm, and I liked that. Yeah. Even though there wasn't a lot of rah-rah, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to kick ass and blah, blah. There wasn't really a lot of that. As a matter of fact, he even said a lot of people want to come play and coach with Will Stein, speaking in the third person. And I'm like, okay, wow. Yeah. I kind of liked all that. So I think I'm on board.
I hope we've got something to be excited about. I seem to remember having this same kind of feeling about a year and a half ago about our other big sport. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But, I mean, I just feel like, just to lay it all out there, we needed a change. We were at a point where the fan base was restless. I think even the athletic department, administration, even Mitch, probably he knew something had to be done because, football drives
It does.
Football program
pays for
drives
all the other
athletic
Olympic
bus.
sports,
Yeah.
yes.
So I mean, it even makes more money than basketball, which a lot of people don't realize at Kentucky. But yeah, so you got to have that program bringing in the money, and we hit a point where I think we were teetering on the edge of having some real issues. So yeah, I'm going to be excited, and I think over the next few weeks as we put different pieces together, it looks like we're probably going to hire the very first general manager of the Kentucky football program, which in the age of NIL, I think you have to have that. I mean, these guys are professional athletes.
Well, and there was even talk of bringing in a former UK player, Champ Kelly, who was the general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's now with the Miami Dolphins. He's the assistant GM. But there was even talk of bringing in a guy like that. I mean, that to me would have been a home run hire because you actually have an NFL guy, a front office guy, running your football program. But I think he's bringing the general manager from Oregon with him.
Yeah,
I like the youth movement thing. He's bringing. We didn't talk about Joe Sloan, who will be the offensive coordinator. Yes, he got fired at LSU a couple of weeks after Brian Kelly got fired. But he still coached Jaden Daniels, who went on to win the Heisman Trophy and was the first pick in the draft.
Right.
So,
and then got a pedigree for sure.
And I've read some stuff from LSU people who covered him who said his best football is still in front of him, that he was just he got blown out because he was part of the Kelly regime.
Yeah.
And they stumbled down the stretch.
Right.
So, if you look at everything from a 40,000-foot view, it all looks really good on paper.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll continue to watch this over the next few weeks as the pieces fall into place, and hopefully new players and things like that jump on board. But yeah, it's exciting. We've been at this long enough, or at least been fans and watching Kentucky football long enough that we kind of guarded in our.
It's kind of like rooting for the Bengals. Yeah. Who are just up the road.
Yeah. Which, if you watch that game today, you see exactly what we're talking about.
I always say that, Joe Burrow has been Bengalized.
Yeah,
but we've seen a lot of bad football.
Yeah,
basically, we've seen pockets of success, and Kentucky has had its moments in the spotlight for sure. And to Mark Stoops' credit, he has taken the program to new heights.
Yeah, he's responsible for a lot of it.
Will Stein likely wouldn't have called, if he in fact did, Mitch Barnhart back in the fall and said, I'm interested if you decide to go a different direction. Had Mark Stoops not taken it to where it is right now, which is it's a job that was paying its previous coach $9 million. He was like the fifth or sixth highest paid coach in America. They have all these facilities because of Mark Stoops. They've expanded they haven't expanded the stadium, but they put in suites.
Yeah.
It's all because of Stoops and what he did.
Yeah. So again, we said it last week. I hope Mark Stoops is not done coaching. I hope he gets hired on somewhere and,
I agree.
and has some more success. I think he's still got some gas left in the tank. He just needs the right situation, and he probably needs to be revitalized and as much as anybody a new opportunity. So
I saw someone even posted the question today online: how would you feel if Will Stein hired Mark Stoops as your defensive coordinator?
Yeah, which I can't. There's no.
I would love it.
That would be amazing
because he would be good.
He'd be really good at it for sure if that's all he had to focus on.
Yes, just strictly on defense, he'd be really good.
But I mean, the can of worms that would open, I can't.
And I'm not sure Stoops would go for that.
Yeah, probably not. They, that might, Mitch might like that because he could maybe negotiate some lessened payout over the long haul.
No,
but
he's in for 37.
Yeah, so I don't think that'll happen. But I think we'll land somebody who's got a good defensive mind on them, and it could be somebody young and up and coming. I feel like I agree with your statement. The youth movement. And it gets kind of old. We see it in all the big sports, whether it's college basketball, football, or even into the professional level. You just see the same names just get retreads. I mean, it's just over and over. And I'm like, why not give somebody a shot who's been an assistant for a while. Give them a chance, and bring them in. You don't have to pay them as much, and take a chance.
Well, when Rich Brooks was hired, nobody around here knew who he was, first of all.
Right.
But here's a guy who's coming on the heels of, the air raid stuff. I think Kentucky had to go in a direction where it had to rebuild the whole program from the ground up. And I thought Rich, being an old school guy, but not yet being that old, he had just been a defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, and they were in the Super Bowl. I thought it was a good hire by Mitch because he built a solid foundation for which Mark Stoops could build upon.
Right.
And we just had the conversation about where Stoops took it. So, but I agree. I think with modern offenses and with NIL, you've got to have somebody in there who's young and who's willing to tackle all of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like kids nowadays with social media and jobs. Like in our business, it's more of a youth movement because this is what kids, that's all they know is, being online and doing all that. So I think it all plays into the football stuff too. And I like the fact that Will is willing to come in here and get a little chesty and show some vim and vigor, and let's go play football.
Yeah.
And that's what he said. He goes, you know how you get better at football? He said, play football.
Yeah. Well, and, I didn't expect to be sitting here. Today's December the 7th. I didn't expect to be sitting here thinking how excited I might be about football because I thought we'd be so engrossed in the incredible basketball season. And so we'll shift gears and talk about how not incredible things are going for our fairly youthful coach in Mark Pope. Things are not good in Kentucky basketball land right now.
Well, they get blown out by Gonzaga. And to me, the 94-59 score wasn't even that close.
No.
I don't know what's going on. No. I don't know. You've heard me say before, I don't understand his substitution patterns. I don't understand his combinations. And after that game, I really am lost.
Yeah,
I don't understand how you can't go with your gut and just ditch the analytics for a minute. Don't let the numbers dictate everything you do.
Yeah.
Pope said after the game that our offense was paralyzed. Well, I think the coach is paralyzed with his numbers.
Yeah.
100%. And I hate to be that critical.
Yeah.
But they're a couple of losses away from being below 500.
Right.
There's a good chance by the time they meet up and play St. John's next week, they could be below 500.
Right. And to even back up a little bit, so we got blown out by Gonzaga. A few nights before that, we lost to North Carolina in a game that at least we were competitive. A game that
they weren't competitive over the last 10 minutes.
No, not at all, because we didn't make any shots. What was frustrating to me about that game was Kentucky shoots, I think it was 67 or 68% from inside the arc in the first half. They were 0 for 8 from three-point range. So you're shooting over 60% from two-point range, yet you keep chucking up threes, and you got every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the lineup is throwing up threes. Very frustrating to watch. I understand wanting to let your players have a green light if they occasionally hit threes, but I also feel like, going to your point of having the ability to go with your gut, there's just nights where the three's not going down. And I feel like as a coach, you have to say, look, guys, we're 15 for 22 from two-point range. We've attacked the basket. We've scored. We've gotten and ones. Let's go with that for a little while. And it was working until they just continued. They finally did make 1 3 in the second half, but 1 for 13 from three-point range. Just very frustrating to watch. They got out rebounded by North Carolina and Gonzaga. But at least in the North Carolina game, I did feel like it looked like there was a little bit of fight there. They weren't making shots.
They didn't play smart against Carolina.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was any effort at all. Well, I shouldn't say any at all. certain guys came off the bench. But I thought as a team, the effort was lacking against Gonzaga. There's an old story that old guys like to tell. I wasn't around when Adolph Rupp was coaching, but it was a game back in the late 60s, early 70s where they were chucking up shots, and they've got a guy in the middle who's an All-American and is the school's all-time leading scorer, and he calls timeout, and he goes, "Boys, let me introduce you to Dan Issel. Get him the ball.
That's
Stop taking threes for the sake of taking threes because you want to take 35 of them.
right."
And put Garrison in there on the low block. Stop flashing these guys out high, or play to your strengths. Go inside, work it, inside out, or vice versa, and try to get a bucket that way. I mean, making shots is the lifeblood of an offense, and when you can't, you're going to get beat.
I think you're being really kind when you say that the effort was lacking against Gonzaga. They sucked against Gonzaga. I mean, and I took some heat this week because I posted on social media that, watching the game, one of the few times this year or in the last few years that I actually turned the volume up because I thought to myself, I bet they're getting booed. I didn't know what was going on. I was listening to music while I watched the game.
Right.
And sure enough, I turn up the volume and the fans start booing.
It was pretty loud.
Which I'm, always been of the ilk that you don't boo your favorite college team or whatever, but we're in a different time frame now. I'm looking at it as these dudes are professional athletes.
Well, I had
now.
this discussion with a buddy of ours today, and his reaction was, it kind of sucks that Kentucky fans are booing, but I understand. My response was, once you accept the money, you accept the criticism.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of harsh, but I agree with you. That's kind of where we are. Look, I thought the first 5 minutes of the game, Kentucky was engaged. Gonzaga came down and everybody's thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to go inside to Graham Ike and they're just going to abuse Kentucky's big people. Yeah. And he kind of did.
Yeah.
Malachi Marino has never played against a guy like that in his life.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that was a huge learning experience for him. But after the first 5 minutes, it was only 7-0. Kentucky had already missed 5 shots by then. If they make shots, it's a different start
the
to the game.
opportunity was there.
Yeah. But then at the 15.5-minute mark, here comes the mass substitutions.
Yeah.
And he puts in Yelovich, Garrison, and Jalen Lowe, and then the wheels fell off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at one point, what was it, 19-2? And those 2 points were one free throw and one free throw.
Yeah. They weren't even.
There wasn't a field
possession.
goal.
Yeah. It was
and their
just,
first field goal didn't come until the 11-minute mark when Aberdeen finally hit a three.
Yeah.
And it was 19-5 at that point.
Yeah, it was. It was just horrendous to watch. It was
16% for the first
frustrating.
half.
Yeah, I mean, just ridiculous. They, against Gonzaga, they got beat in every facet of the game. They shot 26% for the game. They were 20% from 3-point range, which I don't even really know how they managed to hit the 7 they shot, or that they made.
And and this is my thing. Back to what I was saying with your gut. If you're not making shots and you're 3 of 20 in the first half from 3, why are you jacking up threes?
Yeah.
Why?
It's obvious they
What
are
are you
not
doing?
going down tonight. Let's try something else. The other
Going back to Will Stein, you better be able to adapt and play to your strengths.
Yeah, the other big thing for me is I don't really want to go back and watch this game again, but I think if I went back and watched it and really broke it down, I've seen a couple of clips on social media. I'm just really disappointed in Otega Owe's lack of effort. I mean, I won't even say effort. I mean, there are multiple plays where you can watch the replays and he is literally just
jogging,
standing, not making any effort to. He's not collapsing in the lane to maybe add to the defensive effort.
Yeah, there's no weak side help from anybody.
Nothing.
But he stands out because he's their best player, and because of he loved playing, or he looked like he loved playing defense last year.
Yeah, and I think they just the casual fan might look at the box score and they're like, oh, Otega was your leading scorer. He's obviously your best player. It's almost like he was the leading scorer by default. I mean, just because hardly anybody was making a shot. So, yeah, he did score 16 points and he grabbed 5 boards. But, I mean, had he put forth any effort whatsoever, he could have had a dozen boards.
The video of him where Aberdeen comes down and tries to go in the lane, turns it over, and he's wide open in the left corner, and the ball gets kicked out of bounds, and he feigns like, I'm wide open, I'm going to shoot a shot. Oh, yeah. I didn't get a pass.
Yeah.
They didn't throw me the ball. That one will stick in the crawl of UK fans for a while.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, if Otega Owe had shown himself to be the best three-point shooter on the team, fine. I could understand being frustrated. But he's not that dude. He's not been that dude as far as shooting percentages. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you might think I'm open, I should get the ball. But up to this point, you've not shown the reason to get the ball there.
Well, he certainly hasn't taken the leadership role that this team needs on the floor.
No.
Yeah, it was a bad look for Kentucky.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and once again, the national people just taking Kentucky to task, taking Mark Pope to task as well.
Okay.
A lot of people a lot of the national writers, and they know basketball. Yeah. They're all scratching their heads and even questioning, I think Kentucky fans are all saying, is this the guy we need?
Yeah.
And now some of the national guys are saying the same thing.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to, my wife is a just casual sports fan. Doesn't know a whole lot about basketball. Watches Kentucky because that's what you do when you live in Kentucky and you've grown up around it. But my wife says he seems like he's too nice. He seems like he's trying to be the player's friend as opposed to being their coach. She said he needs to get in their face and tell them, what they're doing wrong, why it's wrong, and yell at them a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I understand Pope's approach and his overall demeanor and belief system. But, at some point, if you want to continue to coach at the University of Kentucky, you better get some guys off their ass playing some basketball. And right now they are not doing that.
I don't disagree with you. I would like to see him get a little red ass, as we call it.
I want to see him upset.
I would. Believe me, his coach didn't hesitate to get in people's faces. Look, he's a super nice guy, and the good news about it all is he wants to be here. He wants it to work. He lives and dies with every basket, and maybe as a coach you can't do that. The losses are eating at him. This isn't hurting anybody any more than Mark Pope.
Yeah.
I can assure you of that. You can hear it in his voice after games. We get to talk to him every Thursday, every week. You hear it there. But again, he always falls back on numbers, and I'm like, at some point, man, let the numbers guide you, but don't let the numbers be the determining factors in who's playing and how many minutes those guys are playing. You got to go with your gut and have a feel for the flow of the game.
Right.
And if it's not there, Malachi Marino, I realize that that Brandon Garrison got into foul trouble, but there's no way Malachi Marino wins that matchup with Graham Ike.
Right.
There's just not. He finished with 2 rebounds, and Kentucky needed double-digit rebounds from him.
Right.
There's just no way. So, granted, again, Brandon Garrison got in foul trouble. That's on him. But if you hustle and you put yourself in a position, you're not reaching over somebody's back, or you're not reaching and making silly fouls like that. So,
yeah, very frustrating. I mean, I've been a Kentucky basketball fan since I was 7 years old. I mean, my initiation to UK basketball was the championship season in 1978. So, my standards are a little higher, but it's just frustrating. I hate being apathetic, and I'm rapidly approaching the apathy point where, I mean, even this game the other night, when anybody who thought we had any chance of coming back after halftime against Gonzaga. I'm sorry, you're delusional. So I did.
They did it last year, and I think people were probably replaying that game in their head where they fell behind big at half against Gonzaga and rallied.
Yeah.
Kentucky doesn't have those kinds of shooters. That's a Mark Pope roster construction thing, and I know people are tired of hearing about that, but it really is. I don't know who you've got in that lineup that can make shots.
No, I mean, and not only that, but, like it or not, and you don't have any real way to know this until the guys get on the floor, but the guys that played last year, even though they weren't the stars on their former teams necessarily, they came in and they all played with heart. And we don't have that.
Well, DeMarcus Cousins called him out.
Yeah.
On his social media, he pretty much said, I can't watch this. Kentucky doesn't have any heart.
Right.
Mark Pope was asked about that after the game, and he goes, you know what? I don't have a problem with those comments because he's right.
Yeah.
Well, you're the coach.
Yeah.
Why don't they play with some heart? Why don't they play with some effort and some fire in their gut? And
yeah, I mean, and a guy like DeMarcus saying that because, man, there aren't many players that have suited up for Kentucky that came with the fire that he did.
He came with baggage, but he brought his lunch pail every night.
He worked hard, and I mean, you knew what you were getting. I mean, prior to him, the only player that I can think of that we had that same kind of attitude was Jamal McGlure. He brought a badass, bad boy attitude to Kentucky basketball, and DeMarcus Cousins kind of brought that, but had an added amount of talent to back it up.
Yes.
So that was, so I don't have a problem at all with DeMarcus Cousins calling him out because it's true. I mean, those guys, you can watch that, and I think at any given point in the game, you could call out every single player who saw playing time and said, what were you thinking at this moment while you were standing there watching the action and not diving for the ball or making some effort or hustling, and they just didn't do it. And frustrating, very frustrating, especially since they're getting paid to do it. I'm getting paid by that same university to perform a task, 40 hours a week, and I can guarantee you if I turn in the kind of performance that they've turned in the last week and a half or 2 weeks, I'm going to be getting called into HR, and we're going to start disciplinary proceedings.
Yeah, but your job performance is a little more important than theirs.
But
some people's lives depend on you.
But still, I mean, my life might depend on Kentucky playing a little better because my blood pressure skyrockets when I would have made Samuel L. Jackson proud watching that game with the picture I painted, dropping the F-bomb in methods of exasperation and frustration and just anger. That's why I watch the games by myself because, nobody wants to be around that.
They might get something thrown at them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so frustrating. I can't.
Well, they get a cupcake. I don't even remember who they play now, to be honest with you. They get a cupcake, and then they play IU at Rupp on Friday.
I think that's right.
So it'll be the first time that Indiana comes back into Rupp Arena in a while.
Long time.
Well, I think the last time IU was in there for a game was an NCAA tournament game. I think they upset Duke.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Right.
Yep. Because I was in there, and the whole place remarkably pulling for IU. But they get beat last night by Louisville, who is really good, by the way.
Although Louisville lost.
Yeah, they did.
They lost
Arkansas,
which I was torn there. I didn't know who to root for in that game. Yeah.
Oh, but you would think Kentucky will win that matchup, but then again, all bets are off at this point. And then they have to face St. John's and Rick Pitino, who has been a disappointment. I think they're 5-3.
Yeah.
I think they got a win the other night. They were 4-3, but
I do feel like at least against St. John's because it's the master and the pupil.
Yeah.
I don't think Rick would just administer a beat down to Kentucky.
Oh, I do.
I don't know. I think
he would for 15 minutes, and then the last 5 he'll call the dogs off. I think he definitely wants to send a message, at least to the country, that I am still the master and he is still the pupil,
Yeah.
and I'm a better coach.
Yeah, very, very well. There's no question about that. I mean, I still, even with all the baggage that Rick Pitino has, and the fact that he went to the Evil Empire and coached Louisville, he's one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't deny the talent.
Yeah, he's a
The
brilliant
numbers prove
basketball
that out.
mind for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got so frustrated watching the UK game that I flipped over after halftime to watch a winning UK team, that being the women's volleyball team. They did what they were supposed to do the first two games of the NCAA tournament. Opening round, they knocked off Wofford, and that was straight sets. Pretty easy ho-hum game for them. They got a little bit more resistance in the second game. 8 seed UCLA, I think, rolled in, and UK took that 3-1. And the first set was a barn burner.
It
was
went
like a
30
to 28. UK,
which I think
won
is
that.
a record for a UK team.
Yeah, so I mean, it was entertaining to watch because we've talked about it before. Those girls, man, they're beasts. I would not want to be on the opposite side of the net when they are smashing the ball.
Well, in defense of UCLA, I texted Dick Gabriel, who was doing the game for ESPN, and I said, man, Wofford and UCLA are terrible. Yeah. And I know UCLA was like an 8 seed.
Yeah.
But the two All-Americans, Eva Hudson and Brooklyn DeLay, they had 57 of Kentucky's 77 kills,
Something
I think.
like that.
Something
yeah,
like that.
That sounds pretty close.
I know that DeLay had a career high of 30 kills. So between the two of them, they had 57, and more than half of Kentucky's kills. And those two women are just, man, they are beasts. Yeah. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, absolutely not.
They are big,
Yeah.
physically imposing players, and I would not want to return, or at least attempt to return.
That's just,
something that either one of those two girls send over the net.
Yeah, so to see what Kentucky's doing, we're hoping they play this week. They will host Cal Poly on Thursday night, or actually Thursday afternoon. It's like a 3:30 game.
Yeah.
In the Sweet 16. That game will be on. I couldn't figure it out. They said either ESPN or ESPN2. I think they're going to. It's kind of a game time decision.
But Cal Poly beat number 4 USC out in L.A., so they are here as an underdog.
Yeah.
So
we'll show them.
And then number 2, the 2 seed Arizona State is who they would likely play. They play Creighton in the first match on Thursday at 1:00.
Yeah. So I mean, the fact that Kentucky's hosting, if you're free on Thursday afternoon, I would highly recommend trying
That's
to
what you should do.
Snag a ticket. Yeah, if I didn't have like all kinds of thousands of things to do here at the house, I should go that day. I'm off that day. But,
I thought you might be working. You could sneak off.
No, there's not a whole lot of sneaking off. I'm actually off that day, so it depends on what we accomplish. I'm off Wednesday and Thursday with the eye on getting a lot done here at the house before the kids officially roll in for Christmas break. But I mean, if I'm far enough ahead of the game on Thursday afternoon, it might not be a bad trip to run over to Lexington and watch the Cats hopefully earn their way into. I guess that would be the final. Would that be the Final Four? Let's see. Sweet 16 is Thursday, so yeah. So anyway, hopefully. That would be we need that in Big Blue Nation. We need a team we can get behind and watch them win. So
they have a legitimate shot at winning a national championship.
Absolutely they do.
They've beaten Pitt and Texas twice. They won at Pitt, or they won maybe in a tournament or something. But they've beaten both of those teams, who are the other 1 seed would be Nebraska, who they lost to. So they have a legitimate shot at a national championship, or at least making it to the national championship.
It'd be
match.
nice to see somebody upset Nebraska. I wouldn't be
Well,
disappointed
you got to pull for
at all
Louisville
on that. Yeah, that's just hard.
They're in the same bracket.
That's really hard. But I mean, Louisville's a good enough team that you never know. I mean,
never know.
You catch the teams on a.
And Nebraska is coached by the former Louisville coach.
Yeah. So Anyway, also today in sports we had the reveal of the college football playoff, and I full disclosure, I just kind of glanced over it, and I didn't think there was a whole lot of surprises there.
Alabama, even though they lost to Georgia in the SEC championship, they're in, but Notre Dame is out.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I'm tired of the whining from Notre Dame people.
Right.
I really am.
Right.
Get in the league, get in the conference, play your way in.
Yeah.
Just because you're Notre Dame doesn't mean we are automatically granted, sainthood and we get in.
Yeah, I mean they
play your way in.
And it's kind of funny when you look at the fact that Notre Dame has finally acquiesced, and all their other sports they're in a conference.
Yeah,
But
except
in
for football because they want to keep that option open.
Right, and they play. Typically they'll play one or two good teams a year, and then they play a bunch of teams that aren't so good. And this year it blew up in their face, and because they did, they lost one of the good games that they played. I have to go back and look at their schedule to be sure about the other one, but they lost. Was it to Miami? They lost to?
May have been.
I think. Anyway,
Miami, I think, was the team that leaped over them.
Yeah, and so. I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, I told you I'm a little bit surprised actually that Alabama got in with 3 losses. But then when you look at the fact that, ESPN has a lot of money invested in the SEC, I'm not going to pretend that that's not a deciding factor. They know that there's a lot of eyeballs in the southeastern
Kentucky
part
effect
of
in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people watch. Now, do I think that Alabama is a much better football team than even Tulane and James Madison and probably a couple of the other teams that got in? Absolutely, they're better because let's face it, the SEC just tests teams a little bit more every week than most of the conferences. So, it's going to be kind of fun to watch because I kept an eye on that Indiana Ohio State game last night. I thought we both thought that Ohio State was going to end up winning that game, and early on it looked like that was the case. But man, Indiana was just gritty and came back and
play of the game was a 3rd and 6, I think, with about 4 minutes to go in the game, and Mendoza throws this just perfectly thrown ball just over the outstretched fingertips of a Ohio State defensive back. They pick up the first down, then they go in and score. The fact that Kurt Cignetti has been there 2 years, and he came from James Madison, by the way, who's in the playoffs, so he obviously can recruit. But just the fact that he's been at Indiana 2 years, they've been in the national playoffs 2 years. The only time in the school's history they've been there. They are the losingest FBS school in history. And now they're ranked number 1 in the country. They're ranked number 1 in the college football playoffs poll. Just incredible to me. Yeah. And to see them go out there and go toe-to-toe with Ohio State, who, they'd lost 30 in a row to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Kentucky-Florida, Kentucky-Tennessee thing. 30 straight losses to Ohio State. Now, granted, Ohio State's kicker missed a field goal, but Indiana's kicker missed a field goal early in the game too. Just incredible, though, that he's been able to pull that off with a very modest, by all accounts, NIL.
Yeah, yeah, and this goes back to what we've talked about before. Is I'll be interested to see what the sustainability is at Indiana, but who knows, man? I mean, he might be able to do it. I mean, he just might be able to do it.
And I think Mendoza may have wrapped up the Heisman, and he's probably going to edge out Diego Pavia now.
Yeah.
Who I think going into that Indiana-Ohio State game was the Vegas favorite to win the Heisman. But after Mendoza's play last night, he gets knocked out of the game on the first play of the game.
Yeah.
And then comes back and just played his butt off.
Yeah. Yeah, impressive to watch.
Yeah, it was.
It's going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on how this all breaks down. I think ultimately, I still feel like some of your schools, like a Tulane, like a James Madison, you're in the playoff, but I'll be shocked if they just don't get absolutely waxed in their
Could
games.
Be. And, John Summerall was on the sideline last night when Tulane beat North Texas 34-21, and he said, I saw today, he said that he's going to stay as long as they're playing in the playoffs, he's going to be on the sideline. So Florida's going to have to wait a minute. And it's Matt Roan, who used to be at EKU. He's now the athletic director at James Madison. So cool. I texted him earlier. Congratulations. So.
And they get Oregon.
Yeah, so the matchups are JMU and Oregon, Oklahoma and Bama, 2 SEC schools. Tulane gets Ole Miss. Miami gets Texas A&M. Texas Tech, Indiana, Georgia, and Ohio State all get first-round byes.
Yeah. There's some good games potential there. So, I think the SEC has the ability to advance a couple of teams pretty far just based on the way the brackets break down.
Yeah.
Texas A&M looks really tough. And obviously the way Georgia handled Alabama last night, pretty impressive. I did not expect that game to go the way it did.
Right. Same.
So that's where we are with sports. We'll shift gears a little bit, talk about some music. You've got a concert coming up this coming week.
The old John Michael Montgomery farewell concert.
Yeah.
So that is that's this Friday.
Coming Friday. Yeah, we're recording on a Sunday, and this at the end of this week.
Yeah. Montgomery Gentry, or at least his brother, is going to be the opening act, and I'm hoping, as I've said before, that a couple other people might show up and surprise us. I haven't been to a country show in a while.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the last one I saw, but Shannon and I are going to take this one in, and
should be a good one.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's enough. He's got
classic '90s country, and when you look at John Michael Montgomery's discography, there's a lot of hits there that you kind of forget about some stuff. You forget about how many hits he had. I pulled up today and just looked. There are still tickets available for that show. I based on what I was seeing, I'm expecting him to have there'll be at least 10,000 people there. When you look at what the breakdown looks like and what I saw was available on Ticketmaster, but still 12,000 attendees for a guy who basically hasn't put out any new music in half a dozen years at least. Maybe pushing a decade. So I think it'll be more so just a homecoming like he's planning it to be, which is good. I mean, the fact that he's doing it in Rep Arena I think is good.
And his brother Eddie, half of Montgomery Gentry, those guys were sneaky good. They had quite a few hits. Granted, his partner died in a helicopter helicopter crash. Troy Lee Gentry, who's from Lexington. John Michael's son will be there. Singing, and I'm sure his nephew, who's also has been signed to a record label. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun, I'm sure. And there's nothing like live music for me.
Right.
So
same. I mean, that should be a good show. I think that'll be a good one. I bought some tickets this week to see. Of course, a couple weeks ago, my wife and I went to New York City to see Hamilton, and our big draw there to see Hamilton was because of Leslie Odom Jr., who was the original Aaron Burr in the first cast. Is back with Hamilton for a 2-month run. Well, anyway, we went to that show, and just last week he announced that he's doing a solo tour, which he does a lot of stuff outside of the realm of Broadway. But he's coming to Eastern Kentucky University, the Performing Arts Center over there, which I've never been to that venue.
I saw Boston there.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice venue from what I can tell.
Somebody big was there last week.
Yeah, they always bring in big names. Jerry Seinfeld
was there last week. That's it.
But there are all kinds of whether it's music or comedy or whatever. But anyway, Leslie Odom Jr. is going to come to EKU on Friday, February the 13th. So a little Valentine's gift for my wife and I, between the two of us. So we're going to make a day of it.
It's easy in, easy out over there. There's not a bad seat. It's relatively quaint.
Yeah,
it'll be a good show.
Yeah, it looked like a small. When I looked at the seating,
it's not as small as you would think.
Yeah, it's got multiple balconies, which the lower level doesn't have a ton of seats, but there are 3 then like mezzanine and balcony 1 and balcony 2. So yeah, I was poised and ready when the tickets went on sale the other day. I got in the minute they went on and snagged a couple of seats on the fourth row. I was like, if we're gonna go see him, I want to see,
do it right,
be close, and they weren't incredibly expensive. I mean, by today's standards, because I had thought if I click on there and the up close seats are $250, then no, I'm probably not gonna do that. But with fees and everything, you're looking at about $100, which seems to be the going rate anymore for anybody who's got any sort of pedigree behind them whatsoever.
Long gone are the days when you could get a concert ticket for $10.
Yeah, and I mean that's all the more reason why if you're fortunate enough to have some venues like we have in this area, you've got the Burl and Manchester Music Hall and places like that where you can see some artists sometimes for $20 or so. That's by all means get out and support those artists. You and I both were kind of stoked. We wanted to go see the Dwight Yoakam ZZ Top double bill at the new outdoor amphitheater here in Lexington until we found out that a lawn seat was nearly $100, and you can't even bring a lawn chair. And that kind of got blown up this week a little bit when the local Philharmonic, Lexington Philharmonic, kind of put them on blast, and they said we had hoped to perform some shows here for the community.
It's a bad look.
And found out that just to use the venue, I think they're charging somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000.
Wow.
And that doesn't include all the costs associated with sound and management, security, and everything else.
And you can't bring a chair.
No. So yeah, I kudos to the Lexington Philharmonic for kind of putting it out there, saying these people are off their rockers charging what they're charging, and so it'll be kind of fun to see what happens with this venue because it won't take a whole lot for it to not be successful at those kind of prices. I think the first big concert they had there, it was the Beach Boys, or what's left of them, and from what I've heard, that was very sparsely attended.
Wow.
Which doesn't surprise me, given the pricing.
Or if you've got to sit on your butt in the grass.
Yeah, I mean it's fine to do lawn seats. I get that, but a lot of those venues that have that type of setup will allow you to bring in a chair, which I'm not going to pay $100 to sit in the grass and listen to, ZZ Top, who is obviously well past their prime, but still capable of putting on a pretty decent show. Yeah, that's just too much. I looked at seats that were actually under the pavilion, the covered pavilion area of this amphitheater, or at least close to the stage, and they were well in excess of $100. Some of them were a couple hundred, I think. Wow. So not going to pay that to see those bands. So anyway, keeping things going in the music vein, I did my little record sale yesterday at Country Boy in Lexington and sold a few $100s worth of stuff.
There you go.
There was a steady little crowd most of the day, so I got rid of a few things, but I was the only record vendor there, so I didn't have the opportunity to buy any records, which I love going to record shows so that I can buy some in addition to selling, but didn't do that. Don't have too much on. I've got a couple things on pre-order that I'm waiting on, so I'm looking forward to those things coming in. But other than that, not a whole lot on the music and vinyl front for me. I don't know about you, but
I've had some people ask me, what would you like for Christmas in terms of vinyl? So I've, given them a list. We'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've had my wife and kids are like, we feel like we're always buying your records, and that seems like boring. And I'm like, but that's what I like. You can buy me. You're never going to disappoint me by buying me new vinyl.
Yeah.
So even though you might think it's boring, it's not to me.
Well, and even my youngest daughter was like, do you think my 8-year-old grandson she said, do you think he would like a record player? And I'm like, well, probably so.
Yeah.
So because I'm into it now, she's trying to pass it down to him. And
that'd be cool.
Yeah, there are some songs that he likes, and she's trying to find the vinyl to it. So
that'd be fun. And the key with young kids like that is just teaching them the appreciation for it and how to take care of them.
Don't
and that kind
drag
of
your needle across
right.
when you're.
That.
But see, my grandmother it was a similar situation. My grandmother, when I was like 4 or 5, and we've talked about it before, but it was just a little It's just a little lift top
Yeah,
record
like a little
player.
suitcase kind of thing.
Yeah. And she would buy me a 45 like every week.
Yeah.
She would let me go to wherever, Ben Franklin store or whatever it was at that time. And she would let me pick out. And I still have probably most of those 45s that she bought me.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of began my appreciation for music. And then, there's the whole nostalgia thing of having vinyl. And it started with her.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't have.
He also wants some drums, by the way, and I loved hearing that.
Well, there you go.
I didn't prompt any of that.
You can put some records on and have him play to the records, which is pretty cool.
Well, and my daughter, his mom was like, "You can take drums over to G's house."
Yeah.
That's what they call me, is G. So I'm like, bring them on, bro.
Yeah.
I probably will end up buying some for me and him.
Yeah, there you go. That would be fun to be able to teach him and pass that on for sure. I didn't get to buy any records yesterday at the show, but there was a pretty awesome food truck at Country Boy. It was called Bocadito Latino. So they had a lot, obviously, Hispanic-inspired food offerings. They did several breakfast things. They had some breakfast burritos. You could get, eggs and all kinds of things. But I ended up getting it's called the Peruvian steak sandwich. It was steak and peppers and onions. Came with some fries. We'll throw up a picture of that. But excellent. I had not had anything from that truck before. They came highly recommended by the taproom manager over there, Mac. She said, make sure you get some food. So I did. It was very, very good. I look forward to trying something else from them. They had several things on the menu that looked really good. Burritos. I saw other, people in the taproom had burritos and a couple other things. The tacos looked great. So, I'm a sucker for a good Mexican food truck, and that definitely fit the bill. But that was the only real. I hit my go-to at work one day last week, Watan, the Mediterranean place. I think I had a picture of it. I don't know if I do or not, but they, I've been singing the praises of their lunch special that they do over there. Well, they kind of revamped their menu a little bit, and they added some things to so now on their lunch special, it's just the most ridiculous thing in Lexington. You can get, it's a baked, it's a half a chicken. Baked with
for like $2
with rice and salad and hummus and a huge piece of naan the size of a frisbee, and it's $9.50.
Wow.
Which you literally can't go to Burger King and get a cheeseburger, Whopper and fries is going to cost you $10, and this food is just so good, so fresh, and it's a local guy who. And he's just super nice, so I love supporting them. And I literally would go. I try to make myself only go about once every 2 weeks. I would go probably a couple times a week, and still wouldn't be spending that much money. But it's just such good food. If you like Mediterranean food, if you like, the old school like beef and lamb and chicken shawarma and just incredible hummus, it's all really good. Highly recommend Watan Mediterranean over off of Clay's Mill in Lexington. But what about you, food wise? You went to one of our other favorites.
Yeah. We've talked about it before. You finally took Emily and you guys went and had some breakfast. Well, I went over and had breakfast again, and I had the sausage, gravy, and biscuits.
Yeah.
And the queso fries. They're called dancing taters.
Yeah, they're so good.
With queso and shredded cheese and bacon. And then went back again today because I told you I wanted to try the lunch.
Did the lunch, yeah.
And I had a double cheeseburger with, the regular trimmings and stuff. And it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Shannon had a fried chicken sandwich.
Ooh.
And she was like, it's okay. But it's such a cool little place. It's on Sims Pike here in Georgetown, out near Toyota. Their breakfast is incredible.
Is just ridiculous.
Incredible.
Potatoes.
They're only open till 2.
Yeah.
So, but you can get breakfast at all hours.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend the breakfast for sure.
Yeah. I'm a breakfast fan.
Yeah.
If you had to pin me down, like what are my favorite meals, there's just something about breakfast, man. And I'm a savory breakfast guy. Like my wife and kids will almost always get pancakes or French toast or something like that. And not me, man. I want breakfast potatoes of some sort. Give me eggs. Give me
biscuits and gravy.
That's what I want. Hash browns, and or a hash of some sort where you throw peppers and onions and mushrooms and whatever in there. Give me an omelet. I'm all about that. Just a nice big filling breakfast. Because with the sweets, man, I just feel like I eat pancakes or French toast, and then a couple hours later, I'm just hungry again.
Yeah.
So that's.
And we also had some fried cheese curds, and those are really, really, really good today.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Good little spot.
Highly recommend it.
I don't know if I've got
Porch.
anything. I don't know if I've got anything going on. I mean, this week my youngest Bella she's got to go back for 1 or 2 more days at U of L this week just to finish up the semester, and then the oldest gets in from Syracuse at the end of the week. So we'll be doing some. Restaurants out, and because today is my oldest birthday, and we'll celebrate. As we talked about this, you guys kind of do the same thing with the kids. You let them pick where they want to go on their birthday, and so I'm not sure where my 24-year-old kid will want to go.
It won't be Texas Roadhouse.
No,
right?
Man, I hope not. And my youngest likes Texas Roadhouse.
No disrespect to Texas Roadhouse.
It's for a chain, fine, but I'm kind of over it a little bit.
I like
bit.
their onion.
I'd like to do something a little different because for years our kids, they all went sushi, which I'd like to get back to that and not go to Texas Roadhouse. So hopefully M will pick something other than that. But we'll see. But that's why we're working so hard. My wife and literally 20 minutes before Steve and I started recording tonight, I was at Lowe's buying some more paint to get one of the rooms finished before they roll in at the end of the week. But we're at least headed in the right direction.
And what date was it that the pipe burst?
It happened on Father's Day. So we're
June.
We're at the 6-month mark right now. Yeah. So we but at least we are at a point where there's a whole lot more that's been done than is left to be done, I guess
That's
is
good.
the way to look at it. We're still going to be a ways out on our kitchen because we're having cabinets built, and that guy's moving to New York, and that's a whole long story. But at least it even got good news on that because he told me that one of his sons is staying in Kentucky, so that guy's going to help install the new cabinets. So at least we do see it's faint, but there's a light at the end of this tunnel, and then
It's not a train.
Yeah, it's not a train. I felt like we've been running from the train for the last 6 months,
Yeah.
and we're finally getting to the point where we can start to.
You all won't know
Put
how to
things-
act when you actually have a kitchen.
Yeah, when we get it all put back together, because my wife's an excellent cook, and I don't even classify myself as a good cook, but I
But you
feel like
cook a
at this
lot.
point I can put something edible on the table, and it's been really frustrating to not be able, especially now that the weather's turned kind of cold, and I don't even have as much access to my grill as I would like. So,
Right.
yeah. Anyway, I spent a little bit of time this weekend. Coming across some good beer. I've got a Facebook group that are some near and dear friends of mine that I've known now for the last 10, 12 years, but we have an annual Christmas party. We did that last night, and we always do a really fun Secret Santa. And so I picked up some cool beers last night that we'll be tasting over the next few weeks. The one we're having tonight is a throwback for me. It's called Mexican Cake. It's from a brewery called Westbrook out of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, pretty close to Charleston if you're down in that neck of the woods. But a Mexican Cake is a giant big imperial stout that they have barrel aged with cocoa nibs and vanilla beans, cinnamon, and some habanero peppers. And the habanero peppers are they're in there, especially as the beer starts to warm up. You taste them a little bit more. The cinnamon, I think, definitely adds a little bit of spicy kick to it. Cinnamon is one of those things in beers that I can kind of take or leave, but I've always liked this beer because I feel like they've balanced it out pretty well. It's nice and chocolatey.
It is.
It's
But there's a little heat
it's
on
a
the
little
way
bit
down.
sweet, yeah. And then, but like
On
I
the
said,
back end,
as
there's some heat.
Yeah, as you let this thing warm up, because I think when you first got here, Steve tasted it and said, I don't think I really tasted any peppers, but the beer was still pretty cold at that point. And that's one of the things I try to tell people. There's a reason that, brewers of beers like Coors Light and those kind of things want you to drink it as cold as possible, because it mutes all the flavors, which in those kind of beers, there aren't that many flavors. So they don't want you to recognize that fact. So beers like this, I like to drink them. I like to taste them when they're cold, but then also like to let them warm up, because those flavors start to develop a little bit, and you pick up a little bit more of those, various adjuncts they've put in there. So
even as I sit here, the heat is there. Like the peppers are coming through.
Yeah, and peppers it's another kind of weird ingredient in a beer that, especially they work well in big stouts, especially when you have you couple that up with the chocolate and the bourbon barrel. So this is a good one. I mean, I haven't had this one in probably it's been at least 3 or 4 years since I've had it. I think the first time I had it was probably about 10 or 11 years ago. I had it at a craft beer bar in Hilton Head, South Carolina, actually, is where I had that for the very first time. So pretty cool to get to revisit this one. Thanks to my friend Brandon Floan, who is the head brewer at Ethereal Brewing in Lexington. But he was my Secret Santa this year, and he gave me this one and a couple other really good ones. So I'll probably be drinking those on future episodes. I'll hold those out. As much as I would like to just go ahead and crack them open in the next couple of days, I'll wait and share those with Steve so he can experience a couple of different stuff.
And Ethereal is over on Manchester, right?
Correct. They are in Manchester. They've got a couple different locations in Lexington. They've got the main brewery is on Manchester. They also have Ethereal Public House, which is downtown Lexington, very near Jeff Ruby Steakhouse. They also have, at the Public House, they have a kitchen in there with a world-class chef with very good food. I mean, it is not your typical brewery food by any stretch of the imagination. You can go in there, and I mean, it's also not cheap. It's good food. You're going to pay a little bit more for it, but I highly recommend that. They also have the Ethereal Slice House, which is a pizza joint down on UK's campus. So Ethereal's kind of got all their bases covered in Lexington, but yeah, they're it's cool that their brewer is like I said, he was my Secret Santa, and it would have been really easy for him, and I would have been happy for him to just bring me some of his beers. But he branched out and brought me some things that, like in this case, this one and one other one are beers that I've had before, but it's been a long time. Both excellent beers. And then there's another one that is from a brewery here in Kentucky that I've not had, so I'm looking forward to trying that one. So we'll dive into those in the next couple of weeks. But cool. Anyway, I think that's all we got. We're just going to keep an eye on all things UK. Like I said, I'm all in on the volleyball team right now. We're a volleyball school at Kentucky until we're a football school next fall, and hopefully the basketball team can find their way. I just
if anybody's interested, I think I saw that somebody did the numbers. Mark Pope's buyout is $24 million, so it's not happening.
Well, and also I saw the numbers that through his first like 40-something games, he's got the exact same record that Cal has at Arkansas.
Yeah,
through the same number of games. Yeah, it was something like 24 and I don't know, 24-15 or something. But yeah, it was kind of crazy that Cal and Mark Pope had the exact same records at their respective new schools through the beginning of this career. So I'm just hoping the Cats can get it together. They right now they're not giving me a whole lot to be optimistic about. All I could say is I'm really hoping that Jaden Quaintance is Superman. I hope he's that MFer that Will Stein wants for the football team.
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me that if Jaden Quaintance were suddenly to have a little setback with his knee, I wouldn't be surprised to see a guy not play at all for Kentucky, and I really don't want to open that can of worms.
Shaden Sharp.
Yeah, that's we don't even want to go there. I'm hoping to see Quaintance on the floor. I think he's a competitor, so I feel like When he feels like he can go and they give him a green light, I think the dude's going to go.
Yeah, and he is a dude.
Yes, he is.
And he could be the kind of guy who could put them on his back.
Yeah.
They still got to make shots,
Yeah.
but he provides them a little relief inside. Yeah. At least a rim protector, if nothing else, that they don't have currently.
I hope he's got a cape. And that's all I got to say.
With an S on it.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, all right, we're going to wrap it up for tonight, and we'll hopefully have some fun sports and some good UK news to talk about next week. But until then, cheers.